For this problem, we are given two strings, and we need to find the length of the longest common substring. So an example of this is if we're given the strings A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z, and X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, the output would be 4 because the longest common substring is A, B, C, D, which is 4. Thinking about solving this is with a loop that goes through each character in X and a loop that goes through each character in Y. I'm thinking that this would be a for loop so that we have an integer I that tracks our the character we're currently going through in X, and this would be a while loop, and it will just go until, because we're going to need back and forths within the second string, and it'll go until we reach the end. So basically, and then we'll use a series of checks. So I have a pointer called C1 and another pointer called C2, and we're just going to check if the character at C1 is the same as C2. If it's not, then we're going to check. So if this is the same as this, like I is the same as C1, then we're just going to, and these two are not, and C1 and C2 are not the same, then we'll just move Y. So now we check, are these the same? No. We're going to have a counter. Counter equals 0 to start. We've made it, let's say we've made it all the way to here. Are these the same? Yes. So we're going to just move this here. This one will move here. Are these the same? Yes. Boop. And boop. Same. Move. Okay. Now, because there's nothing here and there is a character here, we know that these are not, when we move to the next one, or if we did move to the next one, those would not be the same. And so we're going to say this is C1, this is C2. Because these would not be the same, we're going to subtract C1 minus I. And if C1 minus I, which is going to be 5, that's not going to quite work, but 0, 1, 2, 3, I mean 4. 4 minus 0, so 4 minus 0 equals 4. And then we'll check, is 4 greater than 0? It is, so our counter will be updated to 4. And then once that happens, C1 will reset and we will subtract. We'll go back to this point because let's say we had A, B, in this string we had A, B. Our first one would be, we would get 2, and then we want to go back to here, and then we'd get all 3. And then we'll keep going until we're very sure that we are done. So I've written the method. We're returning an integer and we're taking in string x and y. We have a counter that's initialized to 0, the x pointer, which is also initialized to 0, and the y pointer also initialized to 0. The first for loop goes through each character in string x. So for int I is equal to 0, I is less than or equal to x, the length of string x minus 1, I plus plus. And then the second loop is going to be while the y pointer is less than or equal to the y length minus 1. So if string x at should be double equals, okay. If x at the x pointer is equal to y at the y pointer, then x pointer and y pointer increment. Else, if the x pointer is still at the current character loop, so it's the same as the int I, and x at x pointer is not equal to y at y pointer, then we're just going to increase the y pointer. If now we've exited that, now we have another if statement. So if if the x pointer is not equal to I, so it has moved, and the x and the x at x pointer is not equal to y at y pointer, or the x pointer plus 1 is equal to x length, or the y pointer plus 1 is equal to y length. So we're at the end. We're at the end, and x is different than I. Or they're just not, or we've hit the end of the substring. Then we're going to check if the x pointer minus I is greater than the counter, and we're going to check if and if that's true, then we're going to set the counter equal to the x pointer minus I. Then we're going to set the x pointer equal to I, so we're going back to whatever character we're on in the loop, and we are going to set the y pointer equal to y minus the counter plus 1. We don't want to just do y minus the counter, because then we'd enter an infinite loop. So we're just moving to the next character. And then at the end, we will return the counter.